Hello. Welcome to a new Rocketbot class. Today we're going to see how to create a new project. Alright, remember that a project basically serves to create a completely separate environment in Rocketbot for a particular project. That is, as long as we don't create a project, all the robots we make on the platform will have a certain configuration and will share information, like for example a module or a database. The same goes for the logs folder and other things that we can, if we want, separate in order to have a completely clean and isolated environment from everything else. How do we do that? Let's go to the new project. We're going to create, in this case, main. Let's name it. Author, let's put Rocketbot, in this case. Description, new project for Rocketbot Studio. Alright, we can store this in a folder. In this case, we're going to look for that folder and store it in a folder called Proecto_Rocketbot, which we've already created earlier. So, we're going to click Save, and this will create a robot that has, it has a certain configuration or a configuration that's completely separate from all the others. Let's take a look at that. Let's open here. Let's go to the new project. Let's go to the folder that was just created, where we'll see the configuration it has on top or inside. Robot is the database, exactly, that we've seen in class, in the previous classes, which is the database for the robots in the studio. That is, it's where all the robots will be stored as we keep working in this case. As we work on this whole project, they'll be stored there. README is basically for having some kind of, for example, if we need some configuration or a step-by-step guide, we can write it in that README so that if someone else needs to start up this project, they can read that document and follow the steps we've included inside. In the package, basically, it will give us a description of, for example, the author, the version, and other details. And inside, we have what is called main, which in this case would basically be the database or the robot we're working on. Then we have the screenshot folder, which is optional. If we want to leave a step-by-step guide or include certain images so that when someone starts up this project, they have something for reference and so on, we can do that or leave it inside this folder. Robots, same thing. In case this robot contains other robots, in other words, for example, if I want to make a robot and it needs to have within its configuration other robots or include some example robots to show how the project is carried out, we can also leave them here. In resource or resources, basically, it's when the project or the entire robot needs, for example, input files to generate an output. For example, if it needs Excel or some kind of configuration and other things, like an .ini file, an Excel file, and so on, you put them inside the resource folder. Then, in modules, all the modules associated with this project will appear. That is, if we open the modules folder right now, we don't have any. So, this is what I was mentioning about working in a clean environment or starting a project from scratch. Basically, we don't have any modules installed. In other words, we have a version of Rocketbot without any modules at all. What for? So that if we need to work with certain modules or specific versions of modules, we can do it separately from the general Rocketbot environment. And then logs is basically the folder where all the robot's logs will be stored, which we can configure within the robot. Now we'll see how. In robots, we'll see the name we've given it, the version, the description, and here we'll see the destination or exactly where the logs will be saved. Well, in this case, we're going to set it to TV folder. That means they're going to be saved, will be stored inside the projects folder, right here. In this folder, the logs will be stored if we set it up that way. Alright, that's it for today's class. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next class. Take care.